the new question,
All right, very good.
which is I don't know why, but in the sandbox, I've got a completed flow. It's tested out, and then I'm doing an outbound change set, and it uploads fine, and I deploy it to production, and then it's not the same flow I'm sending over. It's missing components, and I cannot. I've even deleted it completely. Go ahead.
Yeah, is the flow that you're expecting to move via the change set, is it active?
Yes, in sandbox, it's active. Yes.
And yet the change set it's just not grabbing everything that's needed.
Correct. It's almost like it's a previous version, and I've even, the active version is the most recent version. And I added like a get to it, and I could recreate it in what does come over. I could recreate it in production, but it just kind of makes me nervous. It's not a complicated flow. Well, it was complicated for me but
Right.
as I get better, it's not so complicated. But it bothers me that I can't trust the process. If I'm with a flow, you generally don't have to add any dependent components, correct?
You do if the flows needs it and it's not already in production. So yeah, like if you had a Lightning Web component or like a data table or something like that that's not already in production, then yes, you would need to add that to your change sets. Even if you have like fields that are in your flow that are new fields, all of those would need to be a part of your change set.
Right, that part I know about the fields, and but anything else, there was actually, I was looking at my cliff notes here on flows. Let's see, from Rakesh, he went through this on automation champion.com.
Yeah, sure.
And this might give you some clues to help me out. But
Okay.
he wrote, I'm not reading all of this, but if you can only include one version of a flow in a change set, and
Yep.
it's essentially the change set's going to take the active version
Yes.
and so, okay, I'm fine with that. This is what I found interesting that I'm bringing it to your attention, where he writes, if a component is referenced by the following flow elements, the component dependencies page doesn't display that component. To deploy the flow successfully, manually add these referenced components to the change set. Post to chatter, send email, submit for approval.
Yeah,
So
that makes sense.
okay, so I'm not quite sure what that means for me, because it is sending, what is it doing? In
So
this case, go ahead, I'm sorry.
what's in your flow? What does it do, and what components are being leveraged within that? And if you're able to share it in a sandbox safely, I'm happy to look at it.
I'm able to share it. I have it pulled up, ready to go.
Okay.
I got to minimize this window and move you over. Hang on.
I'll make my screen big enough to where I'll be able to see what you've got going on here too.
I thought I was on the flow part. Do you want me to show you the flow with it open? I mean, is that what you want to see first?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So let me open that up. It's coming up. And okay, so I've got it open in the sandbox. Let me share my screen.
Okay, so you got get records, decision. Go ahead and move down the page there. Sort. All right, that's all good. Keep on going. And this is okay. Yep, keep going.
And that's the
Is
pink
that
at
it?
the bottom. That's it. Oh, and yeah.
And so your What is it that is not moving across that you're,
What seems to be getting chopped off is this new get piece element up here.
do you have, is that a new object that it's creating?
No, not at all. I mean, it's
Do you mind opening it up?
yeah, oh sure.
And this is a scheduled flow, it looks like.
Right. So this flow is essentially we've got this Apex class that there's a checkbox that traditionally what I've had to do is export out, run a report, export out, change it to true for this send email OTH, and then import it back in with data loader, and then do debug to sort of have the Apex run the Apex class through debugging. I could schedule it, but then I'm only able to do that with like 70 of these emails that go out to volunteers saying, hey, you've been approved. So I have to repeatedly do it a few
Okay.
times. So that what this is doing is it's automating it 20 records at a time, the maximum. And then I've got another tool. It's a free one from Salesforce Labs, Schedule-O-Matic 9000. It's got a corny name on purpose. It's the way they did it. And then I have it run. What this does is it checks the box, send email, and then the Schedule-O-Matic simply checks, hey, is that box checked? And it's going to be sending it. So, and then this comes back a little while later and checks, oh, here's another 20, because you can only have 20 as a maximum.
Okay.
For a collection.
And are those running as a record trigger flow then? Once the box gets checked, it's instantly processed, or?
No, once the box gets checked and it sits there for the Schedule-O-Matic job to run that class that then does send it. It's an Apex class for sending the email.
Okay, got it. So a couple thoughts. Have you looked at the version, the API version of this flow compared to your active API or the current API of your production org? That would be.
I did look at the versions, and this one, as you can see, is version 9 in the sandbox.
Yeah, this is different than the version, because if this is the active one, this is the one that would be included in your change set. And I don't think it's going to be an API version thing, because the API version should yell at you and say, hey, you can't move this because it's your production org isn't on the same version. We can sometimes run into this when our sandbox gets the latest Salesforce release and our production org doesn't yet have it. We can end up creating something new in our sandbox environment,
right?
Move it to production, and it will yell at us and say, hey, this isn't the same version. And then you have to come back to your sandbox and just downgrade it.
Right.
Send it. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, I know. I'm comfortable enough with it where I could research. I know what you're saying. The API.
Yeah, I think it's a stretch, because I'm pretty certain Salesforce's change set process is going to yell at you for that, if that's indeed what's going on. Right. The other thing that comes to mind, and I again, I'm kind of stretching here a little bit, but do you have access to that object in production?
Yes, and we're a nonprofit. I'm an administrator with full administrative rights. I'll modify all data
and have you checked all of the fields and everything on that object to make sure that it's exactly the same and we're not missing anything there structurally?
The one field that I added, I is in this one.
Okay.
And it was this one at the bottom, send email. No, excuse me. Maybe, oh, why do I not see it? There it is. It's the third to last one.
Okay.
Email opt-out. So on the contact object, there's a checkbox, where the contact has said, I don't want to receive emails from you.
Sure.
So, And then I realized for this to work, all this is looking at the assignment object. That's the name of the object, assignment.
Okay.
And so I had to create a formula field. That's what this is. That just looks to the contact record and brings a formula field on the assignment object. So this is new, but I did go and create it in production. The first time this didn't come through, I go, well, maybe something's going on with this field. So this is the only new thing I did, but I did.
Did you create that field through the change set, or did you manually recreate it in production?
I manually recreated in production.
Okay. The reason I asked that is I wanted to make sure that you had access to that field, that it wasn't, if you move it into change set without any of your permissions, then there's no rights associated to the field.
Right, field level security.
Level security. Yep, you got it. And you're getting no errors, nothing at all.
No, it's saying it's successfully deployed, and then when I open it up, it's like missing, one of the gets.
You know what? Hey, here, this might be silly. Can you go ahead and close out of your flow? Just hit the back arrow and go back to your list of flows. Here's what might be. And I hate this, and it could be something this silly. I'm not a fan of the way that these screens open up. When you click on that field label, it will always open up the active version of your flow. When you move a new flow into production, it creates that new version of it, and it's not active. But if you click that label, you're going to still get the active version. If you go over to the menu all the way over on each of those rows, and you do the view details and versions, you should then see your newest version, the inactive one. Any chance that it's something as simple as that, and that your new one's getting deployed, but it's because it's deactivated, you're not, when you click on that label, you're just getting your active flow, not the newest version.
In the production, it's inactive. I've not activated it at all. In fact, even in production, I deleted it completely. Just said, okay, there is no this.
So it's not something this simple, because this catches me too all the time. I hate the way that they've deployed this interface, because it makes it too easy to make changes to a flow, but when it's not active, you click on the label thinking it's going to take you to the latest one you've been working on, and it does not. And it's like, what happened to everything? It's gone.
Yeah, I think I'm covered on that only because when I found Rakesh's blog post on exactly creating change sets with flows, his caveats at the bottom, alerted me to, hey, it's only going to take one, and it's going to take the active one. So I was initially having issues because they were all inactive, and I changed it to active for the version I want.
But when you're in the production org, so this is it's been released, that original flow that was active is still the one. It's still going to be that active version, even though you have released a new one via the change set. So you want to go in and look at that version side of it, because it very well could be that it's sitting there, it's just hiding in essence because of the other active one there. So version 2 is going to be your newest one. It sounds like the fact that you deleted everything and recreated it, this probably isn't the issue, but open up version 2 just to, I assume that's the latest one that you've sent over.
Right, where
it's not. Yeah, and I'm sure it's.
Oh, look at this.
Can you for fun and kicks and grins, can you go and look at version 1?
Sure. Do I go back
Yep,
to
go
that?
back.
Okay,
Oh,
right. I wasn't sure if I could do it within that window. I was just,
yeah. No, you can't. That'd be another nice feature, but to be able to switch versions right there. Open up version 1,
It
and I'm
really, really
curious.
would.
What's that?
Said it really, really would. I
Oh,
have wanted
yeah,
that so
so,
much.
so
that's
you can
exactly
see
what
it.
it is. Isn't it?
That's
That's what it
so,
was.
okay. So I needed to go to view details
You
and then
details.
choose the number 2 one. It was opening up the number one back.
And if you,
Interesting.
yeah, and if number 1 is active, and you push in, when you push in your change set, it's going to create that version 2. It will always open up the active flow, always. And what I wish the screen was, is if you go back, I wish that it had more like a tree type view where it had more of it like an arrow that showed me the versions right underneath my flow that I could collapse or open. That would make life so much easier, because then I could just simply click on the little arrow, expand it down to where I could see all of my versions.
Right.
If you go back to click on the back to list flows so from this screen that's coming up, I'd like a little arrow next to each of those labels that I could click, have it expand down to see my versions. So
Right.
that it would just solve this particular issue. And it seems like such a simple little fix.
Take that small thing from Process Builder on how you could
Yeah.
see that
Exactly.
there. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I have done this before, and so this it drives me insane because it's so simple to do, and
Right. And look how much time
yeah.
I spent on it.
Yep.
And even you and I were stumped. I mean,
Yeah. I mean,
wow.
we spent 15 minutes before we came to that thought as to what's going on. So, yeah. So that's what it was.
Great. Thank you very much. And I know I'm pushing my luck here, but can I ask you like a quick question where you can guide me?
Yeah.
Okay. And I think you'll find this easy. I don't want to, but let me go ahead and open this. Let me go. It's already open here. I'll just open it in the sandbox. And open this, edit the element. Okay, so in the entry criteria, there is this one particular field where I have and assignment status does not equal switched, and assignment status does not equal, it's like 6 of these or 7 of these. If is there a way to create a formula? Because initially I started out with putting them all in one line like you do in a report, and I discovered no, it doesn't work. You need to break out each value, which makes perfect sense once I understood that. But is there a better way than saying and maybe a formula? You can kind of say, oh, you could do a formula like this and I can figure it out, or this is perfectly fine. I mean,
that's a lot of them, but you're going to have the same challenge even if you do it as a formula. It might make this piece of it a little bit cleaner. What kind of leads me to the decision point on which way to do something like this is, do I need to reuse this anywhere else? So do I have another get or another whatever where this criteria is important to me? If so, then I'll create it as a formula within my flow so that I don't have to edit it in multiple places to use it again.
oh, I get it. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. What formula would you?
So within your flow, go ahead and click cancel. Sorry,
Okay.
there, and then open up your components. Yeah.
Huh.
Oh, that's
Well,
interesting. Oh,
yeah,
it's
that was interesting. There we go.
The toolbox. Yeah, new resource, and it will be a formula. Sorry.
A formula. Yeah, I was jumping the gun.
And So your data type in this scenario would probably be simply a Boolean. It'd be a true false that you'd return.
Okay.
And insert resource would be where you're going to start building out that those fields. So whatever the object was, I don't know what it was. Earn your status.
It was
so it'd probably be.
I'm on the wrong one. I'm on the wrong one. But it's assignments. It's assignment status is the field.
Okay. And you're going to build this just like you would if you were building a formula field inside of a object manager inside of Salesforce's objects. So it would be something like is pick val, whatever your field name is. And that's
okay. So it is pick val is the function you would and
in this kind of a scenario, yes. And so your pick list is going to be the field name that you're looking at.
Right.
And then the literal for that is the value for the field. I forget what your statuses were there, but
right.
And then you're going to say you're going to use an and, which I think is the 2 ampersand, so function. Yeah. It'll be actually, the way that I would do it, I would just do I would type the word and at the very beginning of your and do it at the very beginning.
Like next to the is pick val.
Yep. Open paren. And then I just do open paren.
You lost me on that. What's open paren?
Shift 9 on your keyboard.
Okay. Shift 9. Okay, gotcha. Now,
and then I would do it. I would just because I like it to be a little clean. I would do a carriage return here too, so your is pick is on its own line. And then after that is pick, you can do a comma. After the
like here.
Yep. And hit enter. Do your next is pick val.
Right.
With its next value and just continue doing those is picks all the way through. And that will, if all of those are true, well, let's say you need it to be
false.
I
mean, or excluded if it has it, then, but it's still, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So in front of your and, you would just change this around to where it would be, you'd still keep and, but you would.
Either way should work. Either way should work because you would just have your formula equal true or formula equal
false.
False.
That's true.
Right. That's what I was thinking.
Good call. Yeah, good point. Yeah, I was going to say that add not in front of all of it, and that way it converts it back to the false side of it.
And not.
It would be not and.
Oh, not and. Okay.
And you'd have an open paren after not as well, and you'll have 2 closed parens at the very end of your formula.
Gotcha. You've actually given me, all what I wanted to ask for. I can work out the details. This is great. That's all I wanted to ask.
And if you're only doing it once, frankly, I would do it the way that you've got it, just because it would be easier to read for whoever comes in next. Because if you do it as a formula, then somebody's going to have to go figure out, okay, what's that formula mean? And that's just opening up another location. Now, if you've got to reuse it, then 100% do it as a formula, so you don't have that complexity in multiple places of your flow.
Right. And what I'm going to do is figure out the formula side just for the sheer sake of figuring it out. And you point me in that direction because I feel like I'm a little rusty on formula. So any chance I can get to use a formula, I just want to at least understand I could do it this way or this way.
Yeah, do a simple Google search on Salesforce formulas. Odds are you'll get something that Steve Moe has written, and there's nobody better to learn from formulas than Steve. So that would be my recommendation. He's got some really good stuff out there, or even search for his name, Salesforce formulas, and you'll get all kinds of good stuff that he's put together out there on.
I thought his name was Buy Me a Beer. I'm glad you cleared that
Yeah,
up.
right, yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, he's like the formula guru of Salesforce. So that would be that's where I would turn to first to learn
Great.
formulas.
All right. So I
Now,
will.
one other thought. Now, Heather or RC, do you either of you have questions that you? I know you sometimes come on just to listen. But
I do actually
okay.
have one.
I was going to throw one more thing out here too, just to think about, Chris, is another good resource to be familiar with is constants. So when you click on that new resource button, there's the ability to create a constant, and a constant
Oh,
is simply a variable that you can use any place in your flow that's a consistent value. I'm trying to think of a good use case in what you've got built here, but constants are really a nice another alternative way of centralizing a value that can be leveraged or used anywhere else throughout your code or throughout your flow. And doing it that way prevents you from having to go into multiple places or multiple elements within your flow to adjust something if it ever changes. You can set up a constant, change it in one place, it filters then all the way through your flow. So that's another really nice one. I don't think it necessarily fits in your use case here, but one to be aware of as well.
terrific. Okay, well, that's my questions. I'm all done. And let's see how I turn it back over. It's
there should be a stop at the somewhere around a toolbar that you have.
oh, it's on the other screen. There you go. Stop share.
All right, very good. Thanks, Chris. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Heather, you have that question, it sounded like?
I do.
Yeah.
I am trying. I've been trying to work on error handling, fault path, and I came into the Salesforce Labs error handling. So you've got the email here. Gotta move this little toolbar over, and so you've got the sample flow that comes with the error handling
Sure.
Salesforce Labs. Are you familiar with that one?
I'm not, but it's similar to some that I've written. Yep.
Okay, cool. And it works on the sample flow.
Okay.
But it doesn't work on mine. And like the emails, I've copied it over. I have no idea why it works on their sample flow and not mine. And I'm going nuts.
Can we take a look at their sample?
Sure.
And the subflow specifically is what I kind of want to see.
Okay. So it has metadata. So it looks up some metadata, and I've got that filled in to do a comma separated email
got it.
list. And so on this one, I've got our main admin email group. And then I also put myself in there because I'm testing the thing out. And then it pulls in the send email to admin.
And it sends a different email to the user. Nice.
Yeah. So to the user, it says, hey, we've sent something to the admin, and to the admin, it's got the fault message and the variables and all of that fun.
All right. Just for fun, I'm pretty sure I know what's in there, but go ahead and open that up for me. Either of those.
Sure. So it just, okay.
I'm sure it's just a standard thing, but I just want to confirm.
Yeah.
See it. Body subject. Okay. And all right. And then the variables that are being passed in, you can go and close that if you like. Your variables, I assume those are all flagged for the ones that are needed anyway, are flagged for input.
Yeah. And then from the sample, they're flagged. Oh, wait. this goes into the email message. Which, oh, here we go. Nope. Text template. Maybe it is a
Yeah, that'd be the text template, maybe
okay, and then this goes into the
into your email
subflow. Yeah.
into the subflow. Okay.
Yeah. So then all the variables fills in here, user email, username.
And you've confirmed that all of those variables are flagged for, let's see, this is sample 2. All of those variables are flagged for output.
Yes. Oops, not here. Here we go. So I have all the variables, but this just goes into the email. Arrow location is output.
Yep. The message.
Flow message is output. Output variable, but this one just goes into the text message. So that goes into there. I'm not quite sure on that one, but I played along.
Yep, that makes sense. I get it. Although I'm go ahead and continue. I'm just curious about one thing that as we go.
But I mean, you got the assignments of the arrow location. So that was just, becomes just a text field.
Yep.
They're like, don't select anything. It's just text.
Mm-hmm.
Those are my creates. Yeah. And so the rest of this is just my flow.
Part of the flow
From before.
Yeah. All right, so let's open up your subflow handling. Are you able to force a error so that we can troubleshoot it?
Yes.
Okay, great. Let me look at the subflow here, or that error.
And the hard part is like, what's your debug flow says? I'm like, says it's going to the error fault path. And then it doesn't tell you anything else.
Okay. Well, we should be able to tell whether or not it's got values in our variables. All right, so let's go ahead and create an error for me.
Okay. Let me just make sure this hasn't been changed here. Like I'll run mine and then have a fail, and then I'll run the sample just to make sure nothing's changed there, and I'll get results from their sample. So
okay. All right.
So okay. Let me scoot our faces over here. So we'll do sales. No. Yes.
Don't you love flow? I mean, in the sense that you can create screens that are so specific to your use case. It's just, I'm just amazed at that. It's, for those of us who've been around Salesforce for any length of time and you didn't have this kind of capability, it's like, that is just phenomenal.
So here, normally, if it had an opportunity that I'd loaded in, the opportunity name would be there. And I can do that. I can like run an actual one on that. But so I get this error if they choose to continue on. This is where I should now get the error message.
Okay.
With the error that was.
And then let's go back to your flow then. And did you get an error? Or I assume it. Can we? Let's go back.
I did.
And
so I didn't get the email I was supposed to get. I got the normal error debug file.
Yeah. All right. So let's look at the flow, and then if you can, I'd like to see the email too.
Sure.
All right. And so here's caught by finance screen.
Well,
so
it's saying right now that it's missing the opportunity number on the debug because I wasn't able to put that in here.
Can we see? Are you able to share the email form and where I can see that along with this flow screen?
The email I'm supposed to get,
No,
or the email
the
I
email
just.
you did get. Yeah, can I see both of them kind of
Oh,
side?
actually, wait a minute. Did I finally get the other one here? It's the power of Terry,
Yeah, right.
because this hasn't shown up
Oh,
before now.
is it possible that email deliverability was stopping it?
No, because each time I failed, I double checked by running
Okay.
the sample, and then I would get the thing for the sample flow. Here's the,
Oh, and that's the user version, the friendly.
yeah, and here's, where it's supposed to go to the person, and
Yep.
here's where it's going to me. So it caught that first error, but it didn't catch the other. But of course, this one's a little bit more important right now. So then if I am to try and run this not off of the debug, but off of like an actual faking a user here.
Mm-hmm.
Lovely.
That is the active flow. So yeah.
All right, so let's try it again as my account manager.
And I'm assuming you're doing that on another browser window.
Yeah.
Or something. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've run
Go ahead and
it too
run
many
through it.
times. Then I go to my
Yeah.
flow. It's like, you can't be
No.
here.
No, that's good, and we don't need to see your data, so it's all good.
Oh, I made everything test from this.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So I'm gonna log in as my user.
What I was catching that was kind of curious to me is that you were seeing a very specific error screen, which I was trying to identify. Is that one of these error screens that are in this particular flow, or was that?
Yes. So that one is here. So that's my new. If you don't have that, you have this. If you don't have that, I mean, so I went through.
Got it.
The massive run of error messages I've been getting.
Okay.
From this,
Mm-hmm.
and trying to stop them from hitting my email.
Okay.
So, okay, we'll go in here. So it'll have the opportunity, but it won't have that required solutions pre-approval first. So
your record type choice decision then is just doing kind of an evaluation of the existing state of that record. And
right. So once they
some kind of
get here, account managers can do sales, a couple of people can do finance, and then maintenance reps can do the maintenance record type. So when it's created, if they don't have access to that record type, I've been getting
just one thought too. If you know that those are issues that they could run into, you might think about having a screen that allows them to make the correction right here as well, as opposed to just saying, hey, that's an error. Can we give them a chance to fix it?
Well, if they're missing the solutions, that's done by somebody else completely.
Got it. Understood.
Which actually would crack me up, because they already have like I can share. I'll share this with you. So I already made this box.
We are recording, by the way. So no.
Oh yeah, no. It's all right. I already made this box, and people are still trying to submit their pre-approval. So
well, and
now I'm making it like this.
I see. Got it.
My boss is suggesting that instead of create, we only have previous here. So that they can either go back, and then only if they don't have any errors can they then, or they don't need to click again.
Yeah.
But so I just did this, and now I'm going to hit, create, because I'm still not going to read the message.
Yeah.
And
you should be able to stop that. I mean, if you know that going into your flow, then don't allow them to proceed forward without.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Now I am just getting the standard debug errors. Now, is it because I'm doing that with somebody that would have an invalid email?
Could be. Well, no. That's an interesting thought, but I don't think so. That should just stop the email from going out to the user. I don't know if that's going to throw an error. Do you have the
Because-
original error message? Does it say any? What's it tell us?
I mean, so, I mean, it says that the solutions, an approved solutions form is required before you can do your pre-sales.
But
And so that was our
failed.
problem.
Yeah, it failed on the create record of your create sales PAF.
Yes.
So the pre-approved form is where it failed. And so you've got a validation rolled in or something that
Yeah.
it is preventing it. Okay.
I mean, I
And
guess I can try this not as my account manager and see if it's the invalid on the user that's the problem.
I don't know that it's going to know that until it attempts to send the email. Creates encountered an error because the element has a fault connection. Interview executed the element path. Okay, and there's nothing further down now. I sent it to the end. That's the end of the email.
Yeah, yeah.
Can you go to the error handling flow?
Mm-hmm.
And if you hit debug on this one, can you simulate the values that would normally be running into this flow? Can you add them in here? Yeah.
Opportunity ID.
least
That would just
some.
be text.
Okay.
Current user.
And choose one that's invalid.
Okay.
That's got the dot invalid or whatever is on it.
I guess I could have done that with just mine.
Yeah, true. You could, yeah.
I need that. Yep.
I don't think that's going to matter because it's still a valid email format. I don't think Salesforce is going to like yell at that. I don't believe. Yeah, perfect.
You think it could be, and I won't say much, but
No,
system flow rights versus user flow?
And that, yeah, somebody did suggest, and so I'm running this as system, and then I was running the other one as system because I'd never tried that before, but yeah, that was somebody's suggestion, and I still hit the error. But yeah, I appreciate it because I didn't, I've seen people write about that, but I'm like, I don't know what that does.
All right, so it ran through everything. Did you get emails? I guess the user one, it probably didn't go through, but it seemed to have processed through it.
Yeah, okay. And so this one, I got it even though his thing says invalid.
Yeah. Now you might try that and not put in an email for somebody and see, is it possible? Everybody's got an email. I'm assuming you're using the flow current user.
Yeah.
And it's got to have an email address in it.
Mm-hmm.
We're sure we're pointing to the flow current user email.
I am not saying sure on anything.
Right? No, fair.
All right.
What grabs that user's email?
Formula. So I went to user, right? Is that,
Yeah, do flow, $flow. We can't get there anywhere from there. It doesn't look like. Type. Yeah, you're fine. You're fine. I think you've got it right. I was looking to see if
okay.
you had the ability to get there from here.
Yeah, I mean, that was me just copying this right from their
Well,
sample.
in fact, the approach that I was thinking, even if it was doable, then it would say system user, because flow would be the running user, or the system would be the running user. So, all right, that looks right. So yeah, everybody's got to have an email. So that's not, whether it's valid or invalid, it's got to have something in that field.
So if I do a debug here,
What
I put in
what I was trying to think through is it possible that we just don't have a value in one of our fields that could cause it not to send? But so current username, current user email, where are we getting your guys's emails, addresses? The person you're sent the admin's email.
that is in a custom metadata. Error messages receipt, their email receipts. And it's a comma. The comma string. So Salesforce.
All right. And then you're reading that into your flow and using that then in the email.
Yeah. And so that's how I get that
Okay.
one there.
Got it. Well, that's definitely going to be consistent every time. So I'm trying to think, trying to figure out why does it work sometimes for you and why not. For that record that didn't work, that was when you were running this from the Salesforce screens, right?
From the run.
It was
yeah. That's the one it did work, is when I hit run here. And so my error was that I didn't have an opportunity.
And the one that didn't work
is when I ran it being activated.
Okay, can you go back to that one, or go back to that record that triggered that flow?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Here's another thing that you could do, and that sometimes it can be helpful just for debugging. I suspect there's there's a logical reason or explanation for this not working, but so you're logged in as another person, okay. In your org, do you have security written around flow to where you have to have access to those specific flows in order for them to run?
No.
Okay. Let's go back to your flow, and I'm just going to give you a thought, and you can kind of play with this. But I've taken this approach at times when I just want to make sure I understand exactly what I'm passing through. Mm-hmm. If you add, before you go to the subflow, if you add a screen element in here and just place your variables in a display text, just to confirm that, okay, that's everything that I'm passing into my error handler is exactly what I would expect it to be. That might give you some insight as to what could be going on and why it's working sometimes and not others. If these look okay, so in your insert resources there on the side, mm-hmm. for each of those variable names, you can just concatenate them together if you wanted to. That would be That would be one, or if it's easier for you to do multiple display text elements, you can do that too, whatever's simplest for you. But I would concatenate, I mean, I'd concatenate them all together into one.
Can you just do it like bringing up the variable here from the screen
Yep,
component
yep.
and plopping it in there? Okay.
Yep. And then the concatenation would be, or just hit what I normally do is I will put where you've got add variables here. I would type in the name of the variable, colon, and then insert my lookup, my merge field for that variable, hit enter.
Okay.
Put my next label in, and then the variable for that one. That's
Okay.
how I typically do it.
Yeah, I just as I'm typing here. Yeah. Okay.
So that's what I think I would try that just to confirm that I'm getting what I'm expecting and I'm passing it to my subflow. You could repeat that same process within your subflow. I think you can. Let's go to the sub.
I think that's where they're supposed to do that, like where I'd actually have this on that variable, on the all variables.
Okay.
Text field, I think, is technically what they were looking for on this. And
okay,
because I wasn't loading it in from the screen, I'm like, how am I supposed to get that? But if I do the screen component thinking through with you, then I'd be able to get that.
Yeah, exactly. I don't, this is throwaway, but it might help you debug it. And figure out. It's just a simple way to confirm what is actually happening at this particular point in my flow.
Okay.
My sense is that there's since we can make it work when we just run the flow from within the flow builder, and then it's not working from the active, that we're probably missing something that when you run it as the active flow, it likely will show up. Another thing that I would perhaps think about here is indicate which you might want to repeat this on both of your or all three of your branches of your flow.
Okay.
And make sure that you're indicating which branch it actually is in. I mean, we're troubleshooting stuff, and so for the one that we're currently in, I think that was it finance? Was that what it was called?
Yeah. I have a sales.
Maybe just finance. Throw finance in that display text, just so that it's like, okay, I am exactly where I think I should be. And these are the variables that I'm getting.
Okay. I think I'm in finance. I'd fix it. Before.
Yeah, you kind of get the idea of what.
Yeah, actually, I'm in my maintenance
side. Yeah. But that could help perhaps identify what's happening. And then if you go to the maintenance, or actually to the subflow, I don't think we do anything here. If you click into edit. Do you have a screen option in here? I don't think we do, but
I think because it's auto launch, I don't.
Yeah, I don't think we will either, but
yeah,
sometimes I'm surprised. So okay. All right, yeah, because what I was going to suggest, if we had a screen here, I would have you do the exact same thing over here to confirm that, yep, it was received, and here's what we received in that process. But yeah.
Okay.
It might give you some thoughts as one way or the other.
I know my boss was also interested if, like, maybe if you don't do it as an email, but as like an actual chatter message, that they can see that our admin group has been messaged.
But
and if we put the error message in there, we're sure that we're getting it, because that's where I got an error. Yeah.
Right. And but if we're not even getting into that subflow, that's what I'm kind of questioning. Are we even getting an error? Is it erring? And is that fault even running consistent? You think that it should be. Sometimes maybe it's going down the path and it says it's good when it shouldn't be. So it's hard to say
Okay.
what you might run into. If you don't see a screen pop up with some information, then it sees it as a successful.
Okay. Got it. All right. I can try
So
that.
that could be the scenario too. So it'd be interesting to see what you run into.
Because email or chat or message, it still has to go through that and actually
Well, it's got to error
fault
first.
out. Yeah.
It's
Okay.
not a fault if it's going to happen. So maybe it's not
Okay.
faulty when you think it should be. Who knows?
All right.
Who
All
knows?
right. Awesome. I can do that. Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
RC, did you have anything, or are you just kind of monitoring today?
No, I'm just like, learning from what I get to see. Yeah.
I was gonna say you joined, I think, several times before, and that's been the case. And
Yeah.
I'm always glad to have you on here. So always welcome. I just wanted to double check if there's something that I can do specifically for you.
Sure. Yeah. Oh, I have one question. In workflow, if you remember, there used to be one checkbox. If you were, if you wanted to trigger the workflow again based on the field update, then you needed to check that, right? Without that, it would not trigger the workflow again.
Yeah.
Have you seen something similar happen in Flow? Because I think I kind of noticed that if I'm having two fields in the same flow and based on update of one, I need to trigger flow on update of other field, it kind of doesn't work.
Yeah, so in that scenario, you create different flows. You're probably going to still have them be before flows if they're updating the same record. Well, let me. When you go into your save screen, there's an advanced option. There's a link at the bottom of that save screen that allows you to go in to see some advanced options. One of those options is going to give you the ability to set the order in which things run. You don't technically want to have it rework the same way that it did with workflow rule. But what you want to do is make sure that the second aspect of whatever it is that it needs, the variables that you're setting initially that would cause it to refire the workflow rule, make sure that you're just running those in the right order. So get your variable set that will cause the second piece to then fire, and just do them as two separate flows. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's what I did. But then I was, wondering, like, did I miss some setting similar to, what workflow used to have?
No, and in fact, we don't want to do what workflow used to do.
Okay.
So but to simulate that same concept, we can do it much more efficiently with flow. We just have to manage the order in which our flows trigger.
Right.
There is also, I believe, in that advanced setting, a option that allows your flow to, and I may be getting this one wrong, so double check me on this. Without looking at the screen, I could be misleading you here, so be careful with this one. I think there's the ability to have it processed based off of the original values that came into the flow versus the values that get manipulated through the flow process. So look for something like that in that advanced screen setting, just to make sure that it's, when your second flow runs, that it's being based off of any changes that may have occurred in prior flows.
So like something like prior value or something?
It's not going to be, I don't think it'll be a prior value in this scenario. It's like if I have field A and I'm setting it to, let's say, the word fox, and that's flow 1. And then in flow 2, there's a value. I'm saying if A equals fox, that then do something. You want to make sure that it's using the new value that was set in that first flow. And I could be confusing something there. So just kind of look at that advanced screen and see if you see something along that line. But you may not even have to. It might use those new values by default.
Okay,
I'm just not 100% sure without digging in and looking at the screen. So
right.
many times I depend on just looking at the screens myself and then determining it's like, okay, because they change so frequently that I've kind of given up trying to know for sure what's where
That's
and
right.
just go look. So
Yeah.
check that, but definitely control the order of your flow and put
Mhm.
those two things in separate flows. Make sure your any that are dependent on a prior flow running, that you've got the order correct.
Okay, will do. Thank you so much.
All right, you're very welcome. Thank you, guys. I need to run. It looks like some of you do as well. So appreciate you jumping on, and reach out anytime you have some questions. We'll see you next month.
Great. Thank you, Terry.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much for your time and help.
Thank you.